Whenever it comes to any form of story or world, there will always be organizations that would exist outside the law or not officially recognized by world powers or world governments, to the point where they're treated as criminal organizations. Whether some of them are out there for the benefit of others in order to not be in the guise of overarching authority, or those that use it as a means to their own ends, whether it be destroying public property, destroying the world perhaps, or having immense criminal organizations with nefarious purposes, or even darker secrets that lay out through the majority of the world. Dark organizations and stuff like that have always been prevalent a lot in anime and manga, especially for large spanning worlds. Many of the time it's done in a relatively similar manner, but every single series has their own take on these illegal or dark organizations, at least in comparison to overarching authority. Now, in the world of Fairy Tail, these types of organizations are classified as dark guilds. And the majority, if not all of the main antagonistic forces, save for the final antagonistic force of the mainline series, have been dark guilds that Fairy Tail has gone up against for the majority of the series, and has been the predominant fighting force of darkness and evil in this story. But there's a bit more to dark guilds than a lot of people believe, and there's also a fair number of dark guilds that we do in fact know about, which is what I'm going to be going over in today's video. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It helps by showing that you guys enjoy the video and content that I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. Also, I will in fact be doing separate videos on the major dark guilds of Fairy Tail in the future, and each of them will get their own subsequent videos as well, so look forward to that. Now then, onto the video. So, a dark guild in its barest of terms is just guilds that are not recognized by the Magic Council, the predominant authority and governing force for wizards and magic in the Kingdom of Fiore. And for the most part, Ishgard, the main continent that they're in, as well. They govern wizards, magic, and they have a lot of different rules, and if you're recognized by the Magic Council, you have to follow under their rules and guidelines, and thus you are allowed to be an active wizard guild and participate in jobs and make a living off being a wizard. I'll make a future video on wizard guilds and perhaps their history later down the road as well. But dark guilds, in the barest of terms, as I mentioned, are not recognized by the Magic Council. They're essentially outside of the law. And with that being the case, they're all treated as criminal organizations. And dark guilds have a lot of animosity towards the legal guilds of the world due to them following under the rules of the Magic Council and seemingly being relatively oppressed under these rules in their viewpoint and not having the freedom to do whatever they want. Granted, it depends on the dark guild, but many of them create these dark guilds for various reasons, or they're official guilds that end up no longer being recognized by the Magic Council, and thus end up becoming dark guilds to follow their own viewpoints and goals as well. And since the rules of the council to them limit how people can utilize magic and limit their freedom, it's the main reason why dark guilds were created. Now, not all dark guilds are inherently evil, but as time goes on, most, if not all, the dark guilds, save for a select few, are 100% criminal organizations. They'll rob banks, they're bandits, they're just flat out robbers. They will do human trafficking, they're even cultists, or even assassins. Dark guilds have very different matters, very different categories depending on the individual goal of these guilds. Now, many dark guilds don't really have much of their own real hierarchy, unlike official guilds with their guild masters. Depending on the dark guild, they either have commanders and captains, or they just have one singular boss that they all answer to, or in one guild in particular, they have a relative leader, as well as other members of that guild that have near equal power and status within that guild. Now, dark guilds don't take official job requests, but based off of them being illegal organizations, they will most likely take the more unsavory jobs people want. Like I mentioned, assassinations, maybe robbery. It's never implied, but perhaps they could also potentially do drug peddling or human trafficking. The list goes on, as well as the fact that there are cultists that utilize dark guilds, and one of them basically being attached to it is, well, Grimoire Heart for the most part to an extent, and Oration Sais in certain regards. Now with regular guilds, or just guilds in general, they all are essentially part of a town or a city, and based around that city, these guilds gain a lot of income and a lot of influence within that town, and can affect the general influence of the town and how it is progressed, destroyed, the overall prosperity of a town. And a lot of times when dark guilds are left unchecked, they can literally destroy a town, maybe enslave the people of the town, make them do bizarre tariffs or taxes to the members of the guild due to them utilizing magic, and many of them being powerful enough for not many people to really stand up to them. Thus, it would end up coming down to official guilds, primarily due to the Magic Council essentially assigning them this, or the Magic Council having their own custody enforcement units and army to deal with these dark guilds. But there are moments where official guilds will end up encountering and taking on these dark guilds, whether it be at the behest of the Magic Council or not. It depends. But with how influential guilds are, even dark guilds, there's always some form of economic system. And if a dark guild is, let's say, ousted from a town or a city, the possibility is that the economy of that town will collapse without a guild to take hold, to take at least an influential part in that town, which is where official guilds are usually a part of towns and ends up helping the economy of a particular town or city, which the ideal part will be for a legal guild to take root there so that the citizens can actually live their lives and not be oppressed. But there is also some cases of dark guilds transitioning into being recognized as legal guilds. Now, there aren't really that much information into how a dark guild can become a legal guild, but as of right now, the main criteria is that they haven't committed any serious crimes or basically just not done anything illegal or broken laws, at least to the extent that the Magic Council knows of. And so a dark guild, even though they're an illegal guild, could essentially become a legal guild through official means, as long as they appear to have a squeaky clean record. That is what happened with Ivan Dreyer, Makarov's son and Loxus's father, did with their dark guild, Raventail. It has been essentially created for years and has been in the shadows, basically building up to eventually get revenge on Fairy Tail for Ivan, but to the Magic Council, they have not committed any known serious crimes. So under one of the conditions of them literally abiding by the rules of the Magic Council, Ivan, towards the time of the Grand Magic Games where Fairy Tail re-entered and Makarov and the main fighting force of Fairy Tail came back from being in isolation for 7 years in cryo sleep. That's a video in and of itself, don't worry. Ivan became a legal guild with Raventail, which was a shock to many, as it was officially a dark guild prior to the Grand Magic Games that Fairy Tail re-entered into. Now, aside from the legality and having a dark guild potentially transition into an official guild and what makes a dark guild, some of these dark guilds don't actually have guild halls. Primarily, they'll use abandoned buildings, abandoned mines, or some isolated area to essentially commune to and have as a hideout. Now, some of the bigger dark guilds that I'll discuss later actually have more so mobile flying fortresses, which showcases their authority and their essential sense of power within the larger web of the dark guilds and their influence. Which is actually a good transition into talking about the alliance of the biggest and strongest dark guilds in Fiore, known as the Balam Alliance. And fun fact, the Balam in the name Balam Alliance is derived from the name of a king of hell who rules over 40 legions of demons, which is pretty accurate. The demon stuff, and also due to the fact that the Balam Alliance is a union and alliance between the 3 most powerful dark guilds in Fiore, with each of them having their own subsequent dark guilds that work beneath them. Those dark guilds do relatively their own things and have their own specialties, but they report to the larger hierarchy and authority of the 3 big dark guilds in the Balam Alliance. But despite it being an alliance, it's more so a non-aggression pact. These 3 guilds, being the strongest within the dark guilds of Fiore, worked out a compromise so that they wouldn't more so interact with each other and just not get in each other's way. They all have their own set of dark guilds that work beneath them, like I mentioned, and report to them. But the only one of the dark guilds that didn't report to the Balam Alliance or was even relatively included was Raventail. It just existed off in its own little bubble until the age 792 when they became an official guild, like I mentioned earlier. And these three dark guilds don't really have that much information on each other, save for some bare bones stuff and information about them. Now, what are the three major dark guilds in the Balam Alliance? Well, those are the Oration Sais, Grimoire Heart, and Tartaros. And each of these three dark guilds are essentially the main antagonists for three individual arcs within Fairy Tail, and have been very huge opponents for Fairy Tail, primarily Grimoire Heart and Tartarus being two of the biggest turning points and biggest obstacles in the guild's history. The Oration Sais is a dark guild that is comprised of only 6 members, but they are all incredibly powerful wizards with their own set of goals to essentially destroy the world. Within their own subsequent arc, they wanted to find the ancient weapon Nirvana to destroy the world, but were ultimately defeated by a group of allied guilds, Fairy Tail, Lamia Scale, Blue Pegasus, and Cage Shelter, which would end with that guild dissolved and the Oration Sais being individually imprisoned, but the group would re-emerge a few more times within the story. Grimoire Heart, another member of the Balam Alliance, is an incredibly powerful dark guild who use a flying mobile fortress as their home base, with their main goal to reawaken the Black Wizard Seraph to reach the ultimate magic world, which led to their conflict with Fairy Tail on Tenro Island, which was a massive small-scale war between the group of Fairy Tail wizards that were on the island and the entirety of Grimoire Heart, including their main fighting force, the Seven Kin of Purgatory, with their guild master, Master Hades. And Tartarus is the strongest member of the Balam Alliance, and the most dangerous, as this group of antagonists, this guild, is made up of the 9 demon gates. All of these characters and members of this main guild are all demons from the books of Zeref, creatures that were created by Zeref in his attempts to create powerful demons to one day slay him, with the main goal of Tartarus to essentially reawaken the powerful demon known as END, which led to a massive confrontation with Fairy Tail in the Tartarus arc. And to this day, within the community, Tartarus is considered one of, if not the best arcs in all of Fairy Tail, with some of the best moments and best fights in the entire series, with some very interesting and great antagonists to boot. And with the Demon Gates of Tartarus all being demons, they all also utilize something that is separate from magic, being curses, which makes fighting them even more difficult and dangerous in comparison to the other members of the Balam Alliance that they fought. And like I stated, there are multiple dark guilds that work underneath these separate 3 members of the Balam Alliance. So let me list them off real quick. There is Eisenwald, Naked Mummy, Death's Head Caucus, Unicorn, Harpua, Gould, Red Hood, Succubus Eye, Betenza, MPV Fuga, Sunny, Mercedes, Lancer, CCC, and Gloria, as well as Carol, Axe, Legend, Porsche, Sentry, and Nexus, as well as Zaxa. These are all we know, and the latter portion of these dark guilds were actually shown to us in the little chart when we got first introduced to the Balam Alliance and the subsequent guilds. Those were the only real dark guilds that we got names for, but there were a lot more dark guilds. Some other dark guilds to note is Blue Skull, which is actually a dark guild from the time of Mavis the First Master, right before Fairy Tail's initial inception, and would later be known to become the legal guild, Phantom Lord. And currently in 100 Years Quest is the dark guild Fire and Flame, which is manned and ran by their leader / guildmaster, Ignia, the Fire Dragon God, and the son of Igneo. But there is one dark guild I wanted to mention for last, as it is kind of an outlier, and that is Crime Sorcière. After the 7-year time skip, Jalal was busted out of prison by Ultir and Meredy, and the 3 of them formed Crime Sorcière, a dark guild that its sole mission is to not only take out and bring the justice other dark guilds, but also to hunt down and try and take down Xerath and any guilds associated with Xerath. I'll go more into detail on Crime Sorcière for their own individual video, but this is an outlier in terms of dark guilds, as not only are they not part of the Balam Alliance, but also hunting other dark guilds. They are 100% considered a dark guild, as they don't fall under the category or authority of the Magic Council, and they're also made up of convicted felons, or in the case of Mary and Ultir, were part of one of the major dark guilds in the Balam Alliance, and thus already technically had a record to begin with. And their story is very interesting, and I will get into that into an entirely different video. But yeah, Crime Sorcière, I just wanted to add into this latter section, as they are a dark guild with their own unique motives and characters and how their initial formation was done. But that is what dark guilds are in Fairy Tail. What they are, the Balam Alliance and subsequent guilds underneath them, and what those 3 dark guilds that run it are, how they work in the world of Fairy Tail, as well as specific dark guilds' importance to the world of Fairy Tail. Also, side note, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Osmo is actually the very first dark guild we're ever introduced to, and is the first real major arc in the Fairy Tail series. So, just wanted to add that in there. Also, when we first got our introduction to the concept of the Black Wizard Xerath and Demons of the Book of Xerath. But what did you guys think of this video? Let me know in the comment section down below, and which of the members of the Balam Alliance would you like me to talk about first? Dirashio Sace, Tartarus, or Grimoire Heart? Because I have videos planned for all of them, so let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. Now with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.